I came to Little Flower, there were a couple of different factors. I think the most important one would be that my mother went to Little Flower. She's a graduate of the class of 1972. So it was kind of like almost a given that I would follow in her footsteps and the tradition of Little Flower. And then I'd also heard from a girl that I grew up with in my neighborhood on my very street, who was an older girl, and she was a student at Little Flower, and would tell me stories about the music department and how extraordinary the shows were and how fantastic and how great they were. And it got me really excited because I was already a working actress at that time and thought, wow, this could be an amazing opportunity. And it turned out to be more than I could have ever imagined. My freshman year, you know, one of the first things I did was sign up for vocal music, and it started off an amazing journey through 4 years of performing opportunities and challenges, and the bond that I formed with the girls in my class who went through the entire, all 4 years of being in the department, and just the extraordinary opportunities to sing almost every day at Little Flower, between classroom, between mass, concerts, musicals, outdoor performances outside of school. It was just so much opportunity, and it really gave me an incredible foundation for stepping off outside of high school, getting into college, and then going from there. I think the foundation that I got as a performer and the work ethic that I learned from being at Little Flower really gave me the tools that I needed to get ahead and to, find my footing in a very crazy type of business. We had so much opportunity, and I think one of my favorite performing experiences at Little Flower was when I played the role of a boy. And it was the title role in the musical Oliver, and another girl played one of the other leading roles, and they were roles written for boys. And at Little Flower, we got to play those roles, and had we been in a different a co-ed situation, we probably wouldn't have been able to play those. And that's one example of where, you get to do roles that maybe you wouldn't necessarily do, but you get that opportunity to kind of grow and expand. And also there's such a sense of just being a student and not necessarily having to be a girl student, which I thought was so empowering and so freeing, that I wasn't there to be a certain way. It didn't matter my appearance. It didn't matter what I was wearing. It was, I am here to learn and to grow, and my sex has nothing to do with how I figure into that, where I stand. It's everybody is here. We're all supporting each other. We're growing with each other. And there was a beautiful freedom, I think, in just being able to be a student and not focusing so much on, oh, are there, different rules because there are boys around. There was a sense of freedom, I think, in just being able to be yourself and not have to prove yourself or act a certain way. I think there was just a really great freedom in that. I graduated Little Flower, and then I went straight to the Boston Conservatory of Music and got a BFA in musical theater. So that was really kind of the path that I was pursuing. Went to New York, came back to Philadelphia to get to get actual experience, to try to sort of get into the union and get my feet in the door, basically. Getting small roles, doing understudy work in theaters in Philadelphia, going back and forth to New York City, lived there on and off throughout the years, and sort of had a bit of a transition from musical theater to straight theater, and then into commercial work, and then into independent film, which I did a lot of in Philadelphia, and eventually found myself in a pretty big feature, and sort of made the decision to try out Los Angeles, just to give it a go, and found myself there and find myself here 8 years later, in a pretty good place. It's a very crazy career, and it has extreme highs and lows and ups and downs, and you never quite know exactly what's coming next, but that's also kind of part of the excitement of it. So that's sort of where I am in a very generalized way right now. Just living in LA, pursuing the dream. Rejection is a part of every actor's process, especially young actors. And it's almost as important to be able to go through that and to understand what that is as much as your training is as a performer, because so much of what you do is, so much of what happens to you as an actor in terms of career is out of your hands, and you don't ultimately have the final say in whether or not you get the role that you want. And I certainly dealt with that a lot at Little Flower. I mean, the career is filled with highs and lows, even at the high school level. Well, especially at the high school level. At some years, you get the leading role. Some years you don't. Some years you are a supporting character. Some years you're an ensemble character. And definitely learning how to deal with that, and grow from it, and not let it hold you back or hinder you, is one of the most important things a young artist, actress can do. You learn, I think, that it's not that you're necessarily, it's not that you're not talented. It's not that you're not good enough. It's that you may just not be right for the role. There are so many factors in, casting that end up out of your hands. But I think the lesson is that, you have to have a belief in yourself, and ultimately realize that you are worthy of the pursuit of your passion and your dreams. And if you really believe that this is where you want to be and what you want to do, you find that determination and that faith in yourself to keep going, and to push yourself and to work even harder to get to the place where you are getting the roles that you want. And even when you don't, you realize that there will always be another role, and and that there will always be another show to try out for. And also learning how to make the most of what role you are given, and to understand that you're a part of a team when you're in a cast, and that every single role is important. You can't have a show with just one person, and that is a really great lesson to learn as well, that you're a part of a group, and the show can't be the show unless everyone comes together to play their role. And there's something very important to be said from, having that experience. It teaches you not only to, sort of be flexible, but to see, things in a bigger picture, which is really helpful in this career. I think that it really does come down to listening to your heart, and looking for who you want to become, and finding it in the safe space that Little Flower provided, that to pray for guidance in not only, your high school career, but just your development as a person, as who you want to become, and the sort of values that you want to have, and to celebrate, not just your own success, but the success of all of the women around you that are working towards achieving the same things. And there's also an incredible sense that I learned, from Little Flower in the vocal music department, is a sense of humility, that there is a lot of sacrifice that you make, that it's a lot of hard work, that things don't always go the way that you anticipate them to or hope them to go, and that you are there to, to be a part of something bigger than just yourself. And I think that's one of the most magical things about, my experience in the shows at Little Flower, was that yes, you might be the lead role, or you might be the ensemble role who has one solo, or you might be supporting, or you might be backstage, you might be on stage crew, you might be doing any number of things. It's the idea that everybody is there because everybody loves storytelling and expressing themselves, and they're there to tell a story, and the only way to do that is to do it together. And it's not about you, it's not about any one specific actor on stage at any given time. It's about the sense of unity and togetherness, and that together you can create something so beautiful, so profound, so moving. And I found that often in not even just the musicals, but in our concerts, our spring concerts, our Christmas concerts, in our in mass at school, in singing this beautiful music, in practicing this music, learning each other's voices, learning harmonies. And yes, the soloists were incredible, and girls had beautiful voices, but as a whole, with everybody's voices coming together, it was a beautiful spiritual experience. And like I said, no one person can kind of have that by themselves. It's really the group experience that I found was just one of the most beautiful spiritual aspects of my time at Little Flower. That was always the prevailing spirit of Little Flower, I think. I mean, you could feel it in the hallways. It's a palpable energy, when girls get together to show how much pride and how much love they have for their family. And Little Flower ultimately is a giant family, and you can't fake that. You can't pretend it. It's either there or it isn't, and it's so obvious when you're at Little Flower. I visited a few years ago, and it never goes away. I think from class to class, from generation to generation, that's something that every Little Flower graduate will always know and will always hold deep in their hearts. I mean, it is, and I hope will continue to be a beautiful, magical place for young women.